Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Tcg Sam here, and in today's video, I'm coming at you guys with an updated Shaddoll branded Dogmatika deck for the July 2022 format. So I know I've already posted a profile of this a few months ago, but I wanted to give an update on some of the new things that I decided to try with this deck and let you know how they panned out. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, be sure to let me know by leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing. But with that being said, let's just hop straight into the deck profile. So starting off with the starters, of course, it is going to be your 3 copies of each Shaddoll fusion. These are just so insane. Honestly, like you always want to see these. This is how you're able to play the game. None of these is like, not one of these is worse than the other. Like what I mean by that is both of them are really good. You do want to max out on both of them. We are playing a very small branded engine, just 3 brand fusion, 1 Albaz. This is an incredibly good starter. Not only does it get you to a interruption through Mirror Jade, but it also kickstarts your Shaddoll engine by sending any Dark Shaddoll off branded fusion for Lubellion, which is also why I only play a single Albaz. You only need one because when you first branded fusion, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be for Lubellion. And you're going to be activating Lubellion, which of course does shuffle the Albaz back into the deck, which means you're able to resolve branded fusion like up to 2 times, but I really don't think you need to resolve it more than just resolving it once is already powerful enough. So yeah, just a very small branded engine. Of course, you also don't want to brick on Albaz, so this is a very good number. I do play Gale Dogma for the normal summon, and I really like this card in Shaddolls over something like Mathematician or Keeper Dragon Magic. This card does so much for you. If you have no Shaddoll spells or traps, you dump Applone, Applone gets you one. If you have no Shaddoll monsters, dump Applone, grab Hedgehog, search Shaddoll monster. So it's just honestly incredible. It also gives you great utility with like the other extra deck monsters. You have Elder Entity Entis you can send going second. You also have Titaniclad, or Albion to get pluses in the end phase. It's just a very powerful card. Yes, it is kind of risky because you do pay a lot of life points. It's very bad into something like Sword Soul or DESPIA, for example, if you pay twice. But most of the times, like just paying once is just enough to get you started. Paying 3k to like have a starter is not the worst thing in the world. Of course, you do side it out when you're going into those game 3 situations, and when you're siding in a super poly, which I do side in this deck. So you just definitely side this out in future games, but for like a turn 1/game 1 situation, this is a very good card. Finally, for the starters, 2 copies of Dear Servant. This card is just honestly incredible for Shaddolls. It just does so much for the deck. A single Nadir Servant just ends on a Shaddoll Schism plus a copy, so Shaddoll Schism equaling Winda plus a Dogmatika Fleur-de-Lis, and that's just insane off of just a single card. That's just so much advantage that you get. Of course, like even though it locks you at the extra deck, it doesn't matter. You're able to do all your extra deck stuff first, but even if you can't, you're able to always play on your opponent's turn with this deck with a card like El Shaddoll Fusion or Shaddoll Schism, and that just means that something like the Dear Servant, it may as well just be like a reinforcement of the army that's like just better because you get so much advantage off of it. Definitely, you'd obviously play 3 if it was at 3, but it is still at 2. Speaking of the Dogmatika engine, we do play Ecclesia, Maximus, and Fleur. So a very, I would say, minimal package. You definitely need Ecclesia. Okay, sorry. You definitely need Maximus. Maximus is the incredibly good one. It's fine to play in this format because there aren't too many Despias running around. You won't get punished as often by Maximusing your opponent. There are only a few bad matchups to do it against, like Drytron, Fluanderies, Eldritch, plus the Despias. But other than that, this card is just insane. You get so much advantage off this, and people just can't really punish you that often with the meta decks right now. Fleur-de-Lis, of course, is just an interruption you can search in the end phase, and Dogmatika Ecclesia is the one that you're usually searching off in the Dear Servant. You could try running it without it, but it does make end phase Titaniclad a little more awkward because you have no way to get like a Dogmatika on the board, so you probably still do want to play it. But yeah, no Dogmatika punishment. I don't think that card's very good. I also don't think you need it. Because a lot of the times you only are just resolving the Dogmatika package once, either with Ecclesia in the end phase searching Fleur, or you're going to Nadir Servant, search Ecclesia, search Maximus, end phase search Fleur, and that's just all you need for that game. So I don't think you want to add the extra brick of Dogmatika punishment into your deck. That's it for the Dogmatika package. For the Shaddolls, 2 copies of Wendy, 2 Squamata, 2 Hedgehog, 1 Beast, 1 Dragon, 1 Ariel. So I'll say this is a very minimal / a standard Shaddoll package. I think this is a perfect number. 9 Shaddolls I think is great because you're always seeing at least like 1 in your hand or having access to be able to access 1 very easily. But also you don't want to see too many of these, of course, because a handful of like these monsters isn't very good without like a fusion spell. You could make the argument to cut down Squamata to 1 to play another utility Shaddoll, so you can try something like Shaddoll Falco or something just to give you a slightly better grind game. But I personally don't like Falco as a card, so I decided to go double Squamata. But yeah, I felt myself not really needing any other Shaddolls. This is like the perfect number of Shaddolls and the perfect ratio of them. And finally for the Shaddoll spells, like rounding out the Shaddoll engine, 1 Rest Shaddoll Incarnation, 1 Shaddoll Schism. So Schism obviously very powerful interaction on your opponent's turn, but I also really like Rest Shaddoll Incarnation. You're able to essentially do some crazy plays where you're able to dump it turn 1 to trigger one of your flip effects right away that you set off of Wendy. So get like a Beast Draw or a Hedgehog Search. It just lets you pivot around really well, and of course adding it back gives you an incredibly good grind game against certain matchups. You can definitely side it out when going second, but I do like it at 1 in the main deck. I definitely think it's a pretty good card. Next up for the hand traps. I am playing hand traps in this deck now. I realized you can't really get away with not playing hand traps this format, especially with this deck that loses to Scythe kind of hard. So I am trying to play as many relevant and good hand traps as I can. So the Gamma package, Nibiru, and Triple Effect Veiler. So all of these have lights in common, and of course, as Shaddoll players, you all should know, having a light monster is very good in your deck. You're able to make the best monster in your extra deck being Construct, but also very easily something like Gamma or Nibiru, after you use it on your turn or your opponent's turn, you do give yourself another light body that gets value that you can fuse off of with. You can also link with it if you really want to. And of course, Effect Veiler is just a very good generic card. Gamma's also good at protecting your spells when going first. So like, for example, your Nadir Servant, your Branded Fusion, Shaddoll Fusion prevents those from being ashed, and that's very good. It's okay if you draw Driver because, like I said, you can just fuse it away. So I figured these hand traps are probably the best for Shaddolls. They not only do they have very high impact like Nibiru and Gamma, but they also have alternate like utility, like I mentioned, fusion material. Plus, they get you those bodies on the board that you can use. So that's it for the hand traps. For the other miscellaneous cards, 1 copy of Fairy Tale Snow. You do have the option to dump this off of Foolish Burial or off of Shaddoll Fusion or Branded Fusion, so you just have quite a few ways to get Fairy Tale Snow into the graveyard. And of course, even if you hard draw it, it's a light monster once again, so not a bad card to draw either. You definitely don't have to play it. I just wanted this option to be able to send something good off of Shaddoll Fusion if I'm able to resolve it going second. And then finally, the last 2 cards, Called by the Grave and Foolish Burial. These are actually the 41st and 42nd card, so this is a 42 card deck. If you really want to up the consistency even more, you can certainly cut the Called by the Grave, and you can certainly cut 1 copy of Squamata, just to really try to optimize the consistency of the deck, because the biggest issue I feel like Shaddolls have is just losing to itself at times. I feel like if you're able to fusion summon, you're actually able to pivot very well into many boards going first and going second. So I think by trying to reduce like the amount of cards in your deck, just even by a little bit, you're going to be able to draw those fusion spells or starters more often, which is very important. But I mean, of course, these are very powerful one-offs, so it really is up to you to decide if you'd rather play these and make it 42 or just cut it down to 40. That's it for the main deck. For the extra deck now, I am playing 2 copies of Construct, 2 App Clone, and 2 Window for like the standard Shaddolls. I think it's a pretty standard ratio. You definitely need 2 App Clones because you're going to be dumping one off of Gale Dogra or Nadir Servant all the time, so you definitely want a second one to be able to fusion summon into. 2 Construct is more than enough. I never find myself going into more than 2. You only have so many good light monsters to fuse with anyways, but yeah, once you go through a single Construct, your engine should just be set up at that point, so you really don't need more than that. Same thing with 2 Window. If you're able to get out like the double Window, like it should just be enough at times, so I think that's just a good amount of those Shaddolls. I am playing 1 copy of Shekanaga. The reason for this is 1, because you are playing Gale Dogra. It just means you're able to fuse off a very weak monster when you're lower on life points to like protect yourself from getting like OTK'd easier. But also it makes it so you punish your opponents who hold Veiler or Imperm against your Gildagra if you have El Shaddoll Fusion, because if you pay, they want you to pay 3k as cost. Obviously, no one's really going to be considering El Shaddoll Fusion, and then once they chain in response to your Gildagra, you're able to chain the El Shaddoll Fusion, make this, and resolve your Gildagra. Can be very good. El Shaddoll Shaddolls also fulfills the role of being able to just be something that can be dumped off of Maximus or off of a Deer Servant just to add a Shaddoll Spoiler Trap back to the hand. You don't want to be dumping one of your quote-unquote valuable Shaddolls with like Winda or a Construct, so you kind of want a quote-unquote throwaway one, and Shaddolls fulfills that role as well. It also has some applications as an Earth Monster. You can use it against the Adventurer token with Super Poly if you do decide to play that instead. Also, you're able to, against Earth Machine or Therion King Regulus is also pretty good. Next up for the branded fusions, one Lubellion, one Albion, one Titaniclad, one Mirror Jade. Very small branded engine. You are just always making that Lubellion into Mirror Jade usually. Mirror Jade is able to dump Titaniclad, which is very good in this deck because you're able to get access to your Dogmatika engine during the end phase, or you're able to dump Albion, grab a follow-up branded fusion, or if you're already in a good position and like you draw branded fusion mid-game, you're able to use Albion to dump the snow and then just summon out Mirror Jade and threaten 5500 damage plus your snow all off of just a single branded fusion. So it can be very, very good. I feel like this ratio is perfect. I never needed more than this. Like, even if for some reason like this package is gone and you still have branded fusion, like Albion can also fusion summon like Shaddoll monsters, so it's not the end of the world if you run out of Mirror Jade. So I really feel like one is enough. Next up for the utility fusions, one copy of Elder Entity Entis, of course, because we are playing the Dogmatika package. Pretty standard. You could also dump it off Gildagra to punish opponents who don't respect this card. One copy of Muddragon of the Swamp. This is just for Super Poly, which is in my side deck. Since I'm not maining it, you technically don't have to main this in your extra deck. You can play something else, but I couldn't really think of anything that was too great to play that I really needed, so it's just Muddragon of the Swamp. For the links, one copy of Gravity Controller, of course, honorary Shaddoll card, lets you tag out your Shaddoll monsters very easily. And then finally, the 15th card is Cross Sheep. So this one was something I was trying to think of for a while. I wanted a generic Link monster that I can make with something like Gamma or Driver. And Cross Sheep was kind of the best one I could think of that I could make it like every single situation. So, for example, if I just have like Nibiru and stuff, I'm able to link it into this if I really need to. Cross Sheep, of course, has applications. This deck, you're able to res a level 4 when you fusion summon into its zone, and it's very generic. So, yeah, you don't have to play this at all. You can definitely swap it for something else. Do let me know if you guys do decide to swap it, what you would swap it for. Because like I said, I am having trouble coming up with like the 14th and 15th slots. So it really is up to personal preference at that point. And then finally, I'm just going to quickly go over a side deck. This is going to change format to format, but this should just give you an idea of what I would personally side in Shaddolls. So back row removal, Feather Duster Cosmic, very important for getting rid of cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance. Dark Ruler no more. I'm not siding like other hand traps. I feel like the hand traps in your main deck have very good coverage against the combo decks, and you just side in 3 extra copies of Dark Ruler when going second. Super Poly, like I mentioned, since I'm not maining it, Super Poly is something, of course, you want to always have access to in Shaddolls. It's a very, very powerful card, but I just decided it wasn't that good going second into a lot of matchups this format, so I decided just to side deck it. And then, of course, for the going first stuff, one Banshee, one Zombie World. You do have access to this with Branded Fusion very easily, and of course, Foolish Burial, and this is just the auto win against a lot of decks like Fluanderies or other decks that require like mono-type monsters. And then finally, 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. This is the floodgate that you are actually able to play. You can't really play Rivalry. You can sort of play Gozen, but it also kind of restricts you. But There Can Be Only One, I feel like, is probably the best option for this deck. You're able to stop a lot of decks out there, like cyberspace decks like Salamangreat, Adignister, but also something like Dragon Link as well, also lose to this card, Fluanderies. Yeah, it's just a very, very powerful floodgate, and it's definitely something you want to consider if you're playing Shaddolls. But that's gonna do it for the deck profile. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed it, do let me know if there's anything you would change. Also, let me know. I do enjoy reading. I do read all of your comments, even if I don't reply to them. I do always read them, so I do appreciate everything you guys say. But with that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.